Have you ever replayed an argument in your head over and over, even long after it ended? Or imagined finally saying the perfect thing that would silence someone completely? As strange as it sounds, the brain can actually reward this. There is a chemical pleasure in anger. Can you believe that? Being angry and getting reward? Neuroscience shows that when we replay an insult, imagine payback, or quietly cut someone out of our lives, our brain releases dopamine, the same reward chemical involved in addiction. So it raises an uncomfortable question. What if old resentment isn't bothering, but secretly deep in our subconscious is rewarding us? Why we cling to grudges, why humiliation turns into bitterness, and why revenge, small or large, can feel so satisfying and yet leaves us emptier than before. There is a neurological explanation for all of it. James Kimmel's The Science of Revenge dismantles a comforting myth that revenge is about justice or relief. When we feel humiliated, ignored, or diminished, the brain experiences it as a threat to status. The nervous system responds with stress, cortisol rise, and the body wants a solution. Winning arguments in our imagination, verbal or behavioral confrontation, provides a shortcut, something that feels like revenge. It tells the brain the threat is being handled. That's why replaying arguments feel strangely good. Fantasizing about winning brings relief. Cutting people off can feel empowering. The brain doesn't distinguish between actual justice and symbolic retaliation. It rewards both. And the dangerous part is that letting go these imagination and grudges feels like losing because the brain confuses peace with surrender. Such an irony. We've all felt that heat in our chest when someone belittles us, but there's this dangerous pattern that happens next. Our brain demanded compensation and revenge. We often imagine revenge as dramatic, but most revenge is quiet. According to Kimmel, sometimes revenge looks like silence at dinner, or answering colder than necessary, or secretly enjoying someone's failure. Any negative behavior that begins with humiliation, anger, paranoia, or perceived injustice and seeks emotional relief can function as a form of revenge and fit in the category. An interesting part is that Kimmel points out that many people who feel insignificant try to regain importance by creating ideologies, rigid rules, or moral hierarchies, systems that allow them to punish, exclude, or humiliate others legitimately in return. This is revenge with a mask. That means revenge can exist on a spectrum and different strategies, all the way to destructive behavior. For a long time, I thought cutting people off made me strong. Sometimes my overthinking wasn't anxiety at all, it was imaginary confrontation, replaying them, defending, and winning. And honestly, it felt powerful, somehow cleaner and superior. But after a while, I noticed something uncomfortable. The relief never lasted. I always needed a new person to resent. Here's why. Revenge usually begins as self respect that took a wrong turn and gained more power over time. Because every time that brain feels that dopamine hit, it learns this works, let's do it again. Kimmel describes this as a self reinforcing loop. First injury occurs, then revenge provides relief and brain rewards us so you can feel obligated to do it again, just like drug. Brain learns this grudge and anger equals safety and reward. Then sensitivity increases even more and new injuries feel larger. And this is why bitterness spreads, why grudges multiply, why peace starts to feel unfamiliar. Revenge never resolves the original injury, only numbs the sensation temporarily. Even worse, it trains the brain to scan constantly for new threats. You become more sensitive, more reactive, not as stronger. And like every other addiction, it takes time to break the cycle. But what should I do instead next time? I'm not going to tell you to forgive because the real solution isn't forgiveness. Forgiveness is optional, but regulation is not. The solution is not moral superiority, it's brain rewiring. Kimmel's research points to three critical shifts. First of all, name the reward. The moment you feel righteous anger or cutting clarity, pause and identify it as dopamine response, not the reality. This alone weakens the loop. This first step is the most important. It's like staying away from drugs. And now that you have knowledge about it, it's far easier. After that, instead of punishment, seek actions that rebuild self worth directly, like skill building, boundary setting, honest communication, physical regulation, not dominance, but stability. And lastly, tolerate the uncomfortable gap. This phase is like spending time in rehab centers. There's where letting go feels empty. That discomfort is not weakness. It is the nervous system recalibrating. This is how freedom feels at the start. The Science of Revenge is not a book about anger. It is a book about how the brain mistakes relief for healing. Constant emotional discharge doesn't mean recovery. Revenge is understandable, but it is also outdated software. When you stop feeding the loop, something surprising happens. You don't lose your strengths, you recover it. So, have you ever catch yourself replaying painful moments in your head, almost as if your brain doesn't want to let them go? I'm genuinely curious. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. Take care of your mind, and I'll see you in the next one.